from inside Bryant-Denny Stadium?
Well, I mean, I do think Jahmyr Gibbs is the real deal. Already had seen him work once in a scrimmage, but got to see it again, and he made the biggest explosive play, a 75-yard touchdown run, really the only scoring opportunity for the Crimson squad in the 25-7 white over Crimson win. But it was just a play showing his potential. He ended up being an MVP of the game because of that. I didn't vote him MVP. I actually voted Christian Leary, who had the other explosive play, 52-yard bomb from Jalen Milroe, perfect throw in the first half. And he also, I think, finished with 4 other catches and ended up with over 100 yards receiving. And I thought it was significant for him, Scott, because he's competing for playing time in a crowded wide receiver room that lost a lot of star power, a lot of starters. He needed to, make some plays. He had a couple of opportunities in other scrimmages, but hadn't made a big play like that. And I thought it was significant to do that on a rainy day like that and make a play. He beat Malachi Moore, down the field. And so I thought it was good for him to earn some confidence from the coaches, no doubt about it. And then I did get the Dwight Stevenson Most Valuable Lineman correct, and it's someone we've talked about already ad nauseum. It's Jamil Burroughs, who really took advantage of this spring with Byron Young being out. Byron coming back as a senior, going to be a starter, a guy that I think plays a ton of football for Alabama. But what Burroughs did was he was a starter all spring, and he has definitely thrown his hat in the ring to be one in the fall. Now, even if he's not, the defensive line more than any position defensively is a rotational position. I mean, you rotate guys in there to keep them fresh. And, I know when you look at it, you got Justin Mboigbe back, senior, played a ton of football, DJ Dale, you got Byron Young, but then you got Tim Smith, and I think Burroughs is that 5th guy. In other words, that he's going to play a lot of snaps.
All right, so 5 questions from the spring game.
Yep.
Did the pass protection get any better from last year?
I mean, not really, but here's the deal. The left tackle just got here, and that's Tyler Steen. He's not even practicing. They gave a long audition to Kendall Randolph for coming back as a 6th-year player to see if he could compete and win a job at left tackle. He's a leader. He's a guy who's played a lot of snaps, but he's not an SEC offensive tackle, and I think everyone understands that. But he's an outstanding blocking tight end. He has a role he plays and does very well. I think that's the role he's going to go back to. When you go back and you look at it, and at right tackle, I think J.C. Latham had a good spring. He did get beat a couple times Saturday, but I think he won more than his share. So I think he is establishing himself on the right side. And then you don't have your right guard, Emil Ekiyor. He did not practice all spring. And so he's played a ton of football for you. He should be back in the fall, back from that injury, back healthy. And then Darian Dalcourt. That'll be the most interesting battle, though, really, in the fall, is him and Seth McLaughlin at center. McLaughlin got a chance to, take the majority of all the first-team snaps this spring. He finished the season strong. I believe he had one bad snap on Saturday where it ended up being a fumble, and Will Anderson recovered it. But, again, he's been solid. So that'll be really, to me, the only spot on the offensive line where going into fall camp – you're not 110% sure who's going to take the first snap against Utah State on September the 3rd. So I think really when you look at it, I think that that McLaughlin-Dalcourt battle will be interesting. And Nick Saban keeps referencing that there's 2 starters out. So to me, he still thinks of Dalcourt as a starter because Dalcourt started the majority of the season last year. So Dalcourt and Ekiyor are starters. He's not guaranteeing that to Steen, but let's be honest. Steen is not being brought in to Alabama after starting 12 games at left tackle at Vanderbilt to be anything but a starter. And that's what they believe he's going to do. So, to me, you're looking at a Steen, Javian Cohen left side. You're looking at McLaughlin and Dalcourt fighting it out at center, Emil Ekiyor, and then J.C. Latham being on the right side, which I think is going to be a solid one. And let's also understand something else. Alabama has the best pass rush group in the country, in my opinion.
Well, that's where I want to go next. Is Will? I mean, last year we were talking about it, a travesty that Will Anderson didn't get invited to New York. I mean, he did get. He finished in the top 10 in the Heisman balloting.
Yeah.
We talked about it ad nauseum last year. He should have been there. He should have been there. A lot of people voted for him. A lot of people didn't. Will Anderson should get invited to New York City, if not be in contention to win the Heisman. He is that good this year. Showed it all on Saturday.
Well, he had 2 more sacks. And, he didn't play every snap, but he played because, as Nick Saban said at halftime, we're going to get Will off the field and see if the offense has a better chance because he's such a good rusher. There's no doubt about it. He does need to improve on his pass drops, as Nick Saban said, but what would you rather have him doing, dropping and covering or rushing? And everybody knows what Will's strength is. It's rushing the passer and getting after the quarterback. So, and he did that really well again. But see, the thing is, they've got 2 guys. They've got Dallas Turner. He had multiple sacks in the game. He had 2. And then Chris Braswell, same deal. Braswell had a really, really good spring. So you've got 3 premium pass rushers on the edge. And I think that's also going to allow the defensive line in the interior, that's going to make their job easier because you have to account for those edge guys. And so you saw once again, Jamil Burroughs have 2 sacks and do a nice job. Tim Smith did a nice job. Another guy to watch to me is John Marion Latham, no relation to JC, but he's still a young defensive lineman, a redshirt sophomore who's kind of bided his time from Pickens County. He came from a small 1A, 2A school, pardon me, and he's another guy that can develop into I think a disruptive defensive lineman. And so I just think overall when you look at it, Alabama right now defensively, as long as this secondary continues to make strides at corner with Kool-Aid McKinstry, and also, and you heard Nick Saban when we had Zone Center this morning, he kind of referenced Elijah Ricks learning the system. He's still learning, and then also Kyrie Jackson. If you make the necessary improvement there going into fall, then I think you're in good shape at corner because you've already got, a lot of experience at safety, Scott, because you've got Jordan Battle, who had an interception on Saturday. You've got DeMarco Helms, who was in a black jersey but should be healthy for the fall completely. He played really good football down the stretch. And then you've got Brian Branch, Malachi Moore, and even a young guy like a Devontae Smith, no relation to the Devontas. Or I guess I think his is Devonta, and then not related to Devontae. And this young man is a sophomore who played special teams last year from Cincinnati. He had a big-time physical hit inside the 5-yard line at the goal line to make the White have to kick a field goal. He's somebody that's coming, I think, at that dime spot that could play there. But, I think they've got all the answers to the test in the secondary.
Right.
They just have to get them ready. But I think potentially it's a very, very good secondary as well. It's a very good defense, Scott, personnel-wise, that if Burroughs continues to, improve and push, and then Byron Young can be that dog when he gets back, because he really played well last year. Fedarian Mathis overshadowed everybody because he was so good, but I think Young was probably second. If he's ready to be an all-SEC level guy and you've got Burroughs behind him to provide quality depth, then you really don't even need to go into the portal and get a defensive lineman, I don't think. I think really you could shift to maybe a flex tight end because what Alabama – but it's like I've said, though, that answer may be coming with Amari Nyblack as a true freshman. So I just think right now it's about, sharpening iron. I think Alabama's got a really talented football team. I wouldn't be so anxious about the offensive line. I think the offensive line is going to be fine when they get all the pieces in place. Right. And another thing we saw during A-Day is all 3 of these quarterbacks, Bryce Young, Jalen Milroe, and Ty Simpson, have great mobility as well.
Yeah, Bryce Young, you look at him, Heisman Trophy winner. The regular season is where people are going to shine the spotlight on him with everything. He looks like he has taken another stride in improvement. I know people are going to say, well, he won the Heisman. How much better can he get? What does he need? He needs to work on a lot of things. Because he's got to continue to evolve as a quarterback. But it looks like he's continuing to take that next step and evolve as well, what we saw in the spring.
Well, I think he's more comfortable. He has now got a whole year starting under his belt, Scott, and I think where he's the most comfortable is starting to be a vocal leader of the group. He became a team captain as he produced last year. and they didn't have a lot of great upperclassmen leadership. He and Will Anderson had to step up in that category, along with a Fedarian Mathis, who really had been leading for 2 years himself, and then an Evan Neal. But Evan's more of a quieter guy. But still, I mean, there wasn't a lot of upperclassmen leadership, so that's why you saw two sophomores become captains, because that doesn't happen a lot. It's usually juniors or seniors that are captains. But Bryce, his play was, undeniably great. And then as the season got going on, he became more and more comfortable trying to lead people. Will Anderson, I just watching him, Scott, and then watching him this spring and into last fall, he really has been a leader, I guess, really since the start of last season as a sophomore. He's just that rare dude who, I mean, he plays so hard every down, and he tries to hold people to a standard around him. I think he's one of these dudes. He's one of these rare guys who can elevate those around him if they just follow him. It's kind of like a Ray Lewis. You know what I'm saying? Because Ray was so good with Baltimore and with Miami. I kind of equate Will Anderson to that. And he kind of – and I think because Dallas Turner had the right work ethic, but I think that's he and Dallas Turner were kind of there was a lot of chemistry there between those two guys. They had a lot in common, and I think that's the reason he was able to bring Dallas along with him, because even though with all those injuries, because you remember Chris Allen was done, he was gone early, unfortunately, because of the injury, and then you had Drew Sanders who got hurt, but then Dallas was ready to go, and then really staked claim to that. And the thing is, I mean, that's what is important with this team, and why the thing I took out of spring more than any other was Nick Saban saying there's no complainers on this team, and there's a lot of natural leadership. And I'll tell you another guy who is a leader of men. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit and ask him a question as they were wrapping up the player part of it after Nick Saban spoke, and that's up on our SoundCloud page and up on 977thezone.com. I asked Henry To'oTo'o about how much more comfortable he is as a player, and you just hear him speak, Scott, and he is a leader of men. I think they have a lot of leadership in the linebacker room. I think Will Anderson's a leader. I even think Dallas Turner as a sophomore is a leader because he was when you kind of look at things when they're going through the tunnel, and then what players are right behind Nick Saban? Well, Dallas Turner's one of those guys. And then Jalen Moody, too, who led the 8A game in tackles. He's the leader in the clubhouse going into the fall at weak side linebacker to replace Christian Harris. And he's another senior who's played a lot of football. So that linebacker group is a special one, and they've got a lot of leadership. And I think this team has a lot of leadership, and that's what should excite Alabama fans.
All right, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. If you want to get in on the conversation this morning, feel free. What did you take away from A-Day inside Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday as Alabama did wrap up their spring portion of spring practice? Here is a little bit of Nick Saban.
So, I think, today was an opportunity for players to impress. Last opportunity really for them to impress on the fact that they could go out and it's kind of showtime for them to see, who would elevate their game and go out there and compete and play winning football, which is, are you disciplined enough to do your job? Do you play with the kind of effort, kind of toughness, kind of intangibles that we need? Can you be responsible and accountable to your teammates to do what you need to do to be able to be successful and gain their confidence? And I think we had probably quite a few guys that did that today. And I was really pleased with the specialists and the way they sort of executed today. I think that a lot of players made plays. I think it was really tough conditions. One of the things that we didn't do all spring was have wet ball practice, and we never had a practice in the rain, which we've never done in the spring. We always do in the fall in case we get a day like this when we play a game. So I do think that was probably a bit of an issue for throwing the ball, catching the ball, a couple turnovers early in the game. But all in all, I was pleased with the effort. I'm pleased with the progress that we made in the spring. Probably one thing that impacted the game as much as anything was the front seven on defense. It's probably a little further ahead than the offensive line with 2 starters out, only 1 starter back from last year, a lot of inexperienced players playing positions against some guys that are pretty good players, that are pretty good rushers. And, that probably impacted the game a little bit, and we'll certainly try to improve that. I think we have. We'll do it, in recruiting, and we'll do it every way that we can. So, but all in all, I thought we had a good spring. We had a lot of guys make a lot of progress. I think we know what we need to do. I think the important thing now is players can actually take where they are, regardless of where they are, and do the things they need to do over the course of the summer and fall camp to make the improvements that they need to make. So they got to be committed to that.
That was Alabama head coach Nick Saban, just a little bit of the coach there. Let's go out to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Justin with us this morning. Good morning, Justin.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Morning,
Good.
sir. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Hey, I took really 2 major things from the A-Day game, what I saw of it. I didn't see all of it, but Will Anderson is the next Derek Thomas. I've said that a million times. The guy's just an animal. And one thing's going to help the offensive line, I think, moving forward is I don't think they'll see 2 bookends that are better than Dallas Turner and Will Anderson, anybody they play. The game's probably going to slow down for them a lot when it comes time for an actual game. That's going to be a big help. And Ty Simpson, I was really impressed with his arm strength and his release, especially on timing routes. He looks like he's very much ahead of his time as far as a guy that just enrolled after high school. And I can't remember what's number 83's name. He's a young wide receiver that also enrolled early.
Kendrick Law from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Very good hands. Very good hands. I was impressed with what I saw out of him. But all in all, I talked to one guy yesterday. He told me he didn't think Alabama looked all that good, and I was like, well, you got to take into consideration. I said, when you've got 2 guys like Alabama has up front on defense, and you're playing with an offensive line that is basically makeshift for a spring because they got so many guys out, they're not going to look as good on offense when it comes to that. But I think the game will slow down for the offensive line because I really do believe that Turner and Anderson are that good.
Well, I do.
They're probably the best in the country.
I would agree with that, Justin, and I don't think Chris Braswell is that far behind. I think the rushers are really good. I think offensive line play can be extremely, fragile sometimes if you don't have the right 5 out there and the right chemistry. I do think if Steen can come in there and fit like I'm expecting, that the pieces of the puzzle will fall together and will come, and I think they will have a very solid unit. Because I think regardless if it's Dalcourt or McLaughlin, they'll have a center that's got some experience that can do the job. I think Emil Ekiyor, I know he didn't play at his high level last year, but I think some of that had to do with the right tackle. I think J.C. Latham is a more talented player. Now will be more prepared physically to do the job after he had a chance to sit behind Chris Owens and play guard and tackle. Sometimes Javian Cohen had to do that before he took over left guard. He had to have a year where he had to get stronger and more ready to play. And Javian, he had some bumps in the road last year, but he gained an invaluable year of experience. And so I think when you look at that, the interior is going to be very experienced. J.C. Latham had a really good spring, and he's trying to block pros, so I think it's going to help him. And then you bring in a guy like Steen, who's got 30 starts in the SEC, 12 last year at left tackle for Vanderbilt. I think that's going to be immeasurable, and I think it's going to help the O-line come together. And plus you've got a quarterback in Bryce Young that's got really good mobility. Bill O'Brien can design some things to help that O-line. And then you'll have Kendall Randolph back at his natural position, which I think is a movement tight end, and I think he's an outstanding blocking tight end, especially in the run game. He can really get some movement there, And so I think when guys are back at their positions, because a lot of what you're doing in the spring is trying to build your team, trying to see what you have, and then fall camp, guys are going to be at the spot they're going to be at for the rest of the season, for the upcoming season. So to me, you can't, kind of get too frustrated or throw the baby out with the bathwater because, you don't see what you want to see in the spring. Some of that, it's just like Jahmyr Gibbs. They didn't show much with him, Justin. Trust me, I know he had the run, but he is going to be a dynamic receiving option in this offense. They didn't show a lot. And so I just think because he does, sometimes I just think people overreact positively and negatively to a spring game when you just have to kind of keep it in perspective a little bit.
Spring football. And I got one more thing I want to ask you, and you may know more about this because this is about basketball.
Sure.
I heard there was a Twitter post out there that's saying Javon Quinterly has decided to return. Do you know anything about this?
Yep, it was mine, and it's true.
Oh,
so
it is true. I didn't know it was yours. I just
yep.
I think tell me that I was out of town this weekend.
Yep, I believe he's coming back. He's going to be back with Alabama. Hopefully, be ready by conference play. Coming off of that ACL injury, but I believe Alabama is basically done at the guard spot. They're still looking to add maybe some wings and forward talent to the roster. They had Jalen Bridges in for a visit this weekend from West Virginia. I heard that visit went very well. We'll see what happens going forward, but yes, I do believe that's why Alabama did not take a commitment from Jalen Llewellyn from Princeton, who ended up at Clemson, because they worked things out with Javon Quinterly, and he is going to be back. J.D. Davison, as you know, of course, moving on to the NBA. But I think JQ will be back, and I think that's big for Alabama. Very experienced player, and hopefully can maybe settle into that sixth-man role, because there's going to be a lot of talent coming in that'll in the Jaden Bradleys and certainly in Mark Sears that are going to help him in the guard room. But he's always seemed comfortable in that sixth-man role, and I think he could be the best sixth man in the SEC next year.
Well, that's good news, guys. Well, keep up the good work. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Justin.
Let's get that first break in. When we come back, more Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone, live from Bill Penney Toyota.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The world champs are back. The Braves are out to defend their world championship. And behind Matt Olson, Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Max Fried, and this loaded 2022 roster, a repeat is within reach.
Here goes Ozzie, 2-2 on the way, hit well. Deep center field. Might have ourselves a tie ball game. You betcha.
And we'll bring you every huge moment of the Braves 2022 season right here on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
What's better than Valley Equipment Rental? Two Valley Equipment Rentals, and that's just what we have now. The original on the South Memorial Parkway between Drake and Airport Road, and their second location on North Memorial Parkway just north of Winchester Road. Valley Equipment is locally owned and has more skid steers, excavators, and lifts than anyone in the area, plus all the small tools that you need to get the job done like a pro. And if you are a pro, you need to check out the new North location now, because Valley Equipment has what you need. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
If you need a car, McCurry Motors is ready to put you in a quality vehicle, and in-house financing is available. If you have a job, McCurry Motors will work with you even if you have a bankruptcy, divorce, or bad credit. Visit McCurrySaysYes.com. Every car comes with a warranty, and they report to the credit bureau. With 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens, call 256-230-0232, or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville, call 256-713-0575.
The PGA Tour's Korn Ferry Tour is coming to the Rocket City. Join us at the Ledges for the Huntsville Championship, April 29th through May 2nd. Experience the beauty and drama of the course firsthand. Witness golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. Cheer on the future of golf up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at HuntsvilleChampionship.com.
Apparently there's an injury in all that mess out on 565 eastbound at Mooresville Road. There's 2 wrecks and a stall tractor trailer in there, so eastbound's a big problem. We got another wreck up near Greenbrier. It's a single vehicle spun out. It should be pretty well wrapped up. Everything else looks like it's been completed, so we're back to a clean slate there. Great summers start with overnight or day camp at Camp Chalky on Lake Guntersville. You can kayak, zip line, go on the giant swing or the blob. Open house the 24th. Chalky.org or just call the Y. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Alabama Crimson Tide to the Atlanta Braves, we are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talkin' Ball with Scott and Drew.
All right, welcome back indeed to Talkin' Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Theisen, Drew DeArmond with you, hanging out live from Bill Penney Toyota out here in the service department here on the campus of Bill Penney Toyota. If you get your car serviced, just head on over to the showroom to take a look at some Toyotas if you want. They also have a deal where you can buy 3 tires, get that 4th one for $1 right now. So make your way out here to Bill Penney Toyota. 256-576-4977 if you want to react to any more of what you saw Saturday from the A-Day game inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Feel free to do so. 256-576-4977. Bob Bowlesby is on his way out as the Big 12 commissioner, and Bob Bowlesby is just saying whatever Bob Bowlesby wants to say on his way out the door. I mean, he is not leaving anything unturned. Last week it was basically saying that Missouri, and he alluded to Texas A&M a little bit, but more Missouri, saying that basically they made the mistake of leaving the Big 12 and they haven't recovered. And he also threw Nebraska under the bus as well and said, Nebraska's departure from the Big 12 was wrong. And I mean, he called out Nebraska and Missouri and a little bit of Texas A&M for leaving. And then over the weekend, he's basically ripped the college football playoff expansion talks and basically said that you can't keep kicking the can down the road. And they had everything. They worked on everything for months. They had it all agreed to, whatever. And then people came in and basically destroyed what they had worked for. He says he was frustrated because the 4 of us, basically the SEC, the other conferences, they spent 2 years working on this. They came up with a plan that served college football well. It served a lot of additional teams and was going to be very good for the regular season because towards the end of the season, he said there would have been 25 to 30 teams that would have had a legitimate claim to the playoffs. He says it's all good for TV revenue, game receipts. It was going to be good, healthy for the game. He said it was all going to be fair. And then he said basically the Big Ten, couldn't get over the Rose Bowl. Basically, Bob Bowlesby is just he's not caring right now, and he's basically just saying, "This is what it is."
I don't disagree with him about the Big Ten. I've heard right now that the relationship couldn't be more frosty between the Big Ten and the SEC because again they've always held this Rose Bowl garbage. To a certain standard, which is stupidity. You either adapt or you get left behind.
He also said the Big Ten felt like they want, and he told all of this to a newspaper. He's told all of it to the ticket, or actually the ticket in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah,
is where he told all of this too. And he said that the Big Ten wanted an automatic qualifier and felt it was something that they needed in the playoff talks to happen. And he said, I spent 15 years in the Big Ten, He says, I think the Big Ten champion is always going to be well considered, and I didn't think that would be an absolute essential. So basically, the Big Ten felt like
they screwed it all up, just like they tried to screw up the whole 2020 season because they listened to Joe.
Yeah, they wanted an automatic qualifier to the playoffs, basically saying, almost admitting that their conference
they're inferior
and
suck.
Yeah,
let's just be honest with you. SUCK. That's what it is. Even though Ohio State's been really good, but the rest of the league is kind of lagged behind, so I guess they're worried that Ohio State may take a couple steps back too, because who knows? Because I'm not sold that Ryan Day's some elite coach anyway. And so I guess that's what the Big Ten's worried about. But the Big Ten has pathetic leadership. I mean, the way they handled the 2020 season was an abomination and a joke. Everybody knows that. So finding out from Bob Bowlesby, who has no reason to lie because he's on his way out anyway, the Big 12, I mean, now that you find out that the Big Ten basically blew up the playoff, how are you shocked?
He says,
frankly, these idiots don't know what they're doing.
I mean, Bob Bowlesby was pulling no punches. And he says, frankly, the silliness is that we could have put a new plan in place in years 11 and 12 of the playoff and captured it during that, and doing that, $450 million to be distributed in college football. $450 million. He went on to say, we now have all the same decisions that have to be made by the end of the current 12-year window within 12 to 18 months. He says we're going to be right back at the table, and this time around, we're going to have to make these decisions. If we don't, the playoff is going to go away in his estimation. He says it was really a lost opportunity, and there's lots and lots of issues in college athletics.
And it's all pretty much Big Ten related, in my opinion.
Yep. So, I mean, Bob Bowlesby just basically...
I mean, we all know what happens. The Pac-12 follows whatever the Big Ten does because they're a lapdog.
Basically.
I mean, come on.
But he's not right, and he's not wrong. I mean, in 12 to 18 months, they're going to have to be back there at the table.
Of course.
And what are they going to talk about? Well, this is what went wrong. I mean,
yeah.
They had a model in place. It should have been passed, but the Big Ten...
Kevin Warren and the morons just fell asleep again.
Felt like they needed an automatic qualifier.
Yeah, right.
Let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Brandon with us this morning. Good morning, Brandon.
Automatic qualifiers are for losers. If you belong there, you'll win your way in.
Well, that's what we always believe. And the Big Ten thinks their football's so good, then why don't you believe you're going to be there?
I completely agree. If you put a product on the table people want to see, they're going to want to watch it. And the whole Rose Bowl crap, the other four conferences should have just said, we're going to do this with you or without you. What do you want to do?
Yeah, and I believe Greg Sankey was one of those opposed of having automatic qualifiers.
Oh, yeah, he was, because he wants as many SEC teams to be under consideration as possible.
Well, I think he just wants every team. I mean, it's
and again,
one of those
parades can
things.
be rescheduled, and the Rose Bowl can be moved to a different day. I mean, these people need to wake up and stop. That's why the Big Ten sucks, because they won't bend, and they won't, and the Pac-12 as well.
Yeah.
That's why they've fallen behind, because they're archaic in their thinking, and they're stupid.
They want special, in Bowlesby's words, special considerations involving the Rose Bowl game.
My special consideration would be to get better or get the hell out. That's what I'd tell them. You know what I'm saying? And I don't blame Sankey and the other conference for telling them to go stick.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I wanted to ask you about something because I feel like I saw something over the weekend that if it had been a player and not a coach, the punishment would have been much more severe. Tony Vitello.
Yeah, you're talking about Saturday? There's no doubt.
Yeah,
I saw it.
He run up on that umpire, and he got, 4 games?
Is that what they've announced?
That's what I was seeing. I never could find the official. People were saying it was a fine and 4 games.
He's definitely got to be suspended.
Oh, yeah, I've seen players in high school bump a referee with a shoulder and be suspended for the rest of the year.
I mean, what he did, it really almost wasn't even a bump. It was almost like a body block.
Yeah, it's a 4-game suspension for Tony Vitello.
He's lucky he didn't get, the rest of the regular season. This is another deal where just like Juwan Howard was very fortunate to get 5 games, Tony Vitello and his temper, he's very lucky and very fortunate that he's only going to get 4 games for Tennessee. That was absolutely ridiculous.
It's the NCAA rule book regarding making physical contact with an umpire. It is 4 games, and so that is what it says in the handbook. So they went.
Yeah.
That is what they issued. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
now is that rule for players and coaches?
I would imagine it just says it's a 4-game suspension is in accordance with the NCAA rule book regarding making physical contact with an umpire. So I would imagine within that rule book it says coach, player. I'd imagine it's for anyone making contact with an umpire.
Got you. And see, you got umps like Billy Miller with that whole Kenley Jansen situation this weekend. Those are the kind of people that do stuff like that you want to punch them, but you can't.
Right.
That was a complete moron show.
Yeah, Vitello.
Guy's hand for
Tony Vitello will return April 24th for Florida's game at Florida, or for Tennessee's game at Florida. So that's when he's set to return.
Well, I just thought that was strange. I was looking at that thinking, okay, this guy's gone for the rest of the regular season. Probably $50,000 to $100,000 fine, and then he just gets 4 games. And I'm looking at, I know the NBA's only suspended people for 1 game for making contact with the referees, but we know what kind of league that is. And I was just shocked that you don't get more games for that. And I started looking up some stuff, and I realized that on the NCAA football competition committee, guess who the chair of that committee is?
The competition committee?
The rules committee, yeah.
Steve
Shaw.
Yeah, Steve Shaw. Yeah,
And a bunch of names I've never heard of other than David Shaw. I'm like, who are these people? Some of the schools I've never heard of.
Yeah.
I thought, really, we don't have. So, to me, I think they need to go back and take a look at that. To me, you make contact with an official, that ought to be a minimum of 10 games for the first time, and I think it ought to be rest of the season for the second time. But I'm the kind of guy that thinks if you throw a pitch and hit somebody in the face with it, that you ought to be suspended for the rest of the regular season too. So maybe I'm a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I understand that, Brandon. But the only problem with the hitting someone with a pitch is you don't know what's truly a wild pitch sometimes and what's intentional when they're in. Because really, most of the time when you see these intentional guys coming in and doing it, they're going to the ribs, they're going to the leg, things of that nature. When to me, it's just so. I think there are guys that have no command. It's just so dangerous to try to come up and in on somebody's head, and that's why people get so angry when it happens, though, because sometimes they think it's intentional, and then that's why you see these bench clearing brawls, because again, you're taking in somebody's livelihood when it gets up into the facial area. It's just a really scary situation.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the Tony Vitello thing right now.
Yeah,
He did bump him, but the umpire did a fantastic job of selling the bump as well.
So you think he sold it a little?
LeBron, that baby.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
I'm looking at it now, and I mean, the umpire, there is no doubt that Tony Vitello did make contact with him. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
But the umpire did a fantastic
job. Well,
job.
The second part of it. The first part he hit him, but yeah, the second part too.
I mean, you look at the umpire.
You're stumbling. Yeah, that was, and then all of a sudden,
the umpire did a good job of selling
point.
that one as well.
Yeah.
Though.
So yeah.
All right, Brandon.
Appreciate it, Brandon.
Thanks for the call, bud.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Let's go to Jeff from the Borough real fast. Good morning, Jeff.
What's up, Jeff?
How's it going, guys? Yeah, I saw what I read, and I don't know if it's true or not.
Right.
What I read is they said the Alabama players were chirping in the dugout. Of course, that don't give them right to do that, but I mean, Tennessee's been doing it for the last 2 months. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's an NCAA rule. The NCAA suspended. SEC had nothing to do with it.
That's why I said it comes from the NCAA.
Yeah.
The NCAA handbook.
You said what you said. So, but I mean, they said they were sharpening the dugout. So I don't know if it was right. That's just what I read that they was doing, making noise and stuff. Which I mean, that has no call for him to go out there and do that. But I mean, as far and the assistant coach, he got suspended in 1 game. I know they've got a midweek game this week. I think it's tomorrow, I believe, or Wednesday. I don't know which day it is. But they got a midweek game, and like you say, he'll be able to come back on Sunday that game against Florida on Sunday is when Botello will be back to the game and stuff. But and Brandon, I think Brandon wants more games as his Tennessee coach, which I ain't got no problem that long. I mean, if he wants to have more games of that, but that's the rule book. I mean, that's what the rules say. The rules say we ain't gonna go back and change this stuff. That's what the rule book says.
Yeah, they have a game.
That's fine. But
Tennessee has a game Tuesday against Bellarmine.
Yeah, Bellarmine,
and then they have 2 games. So he sat out. He sat out the game on Sunday. That is game 1 against Alabama. Game 2 is Bellarmine. And then 2, and then 3 and 4 would be the first 2 games against Florida. That's why he's able to come back for that final game against Florida.
What I want to tell Drew, you know who Trent McNair is?
You talking about Steve McNair's son?
He just signed or he's a junior or senior. He signed or committed to go to Palm Beach Atlantic University. Right. The basketball is Division II school. It's in Boca Raton. Florida Atlantic's Division I in Boca Raton. They're Division II. He's going to play basketball there. He's in Brentwood Academy right now. That's where he's going to play ball for college basketball and such. But I did want to ask you guys. Looks like Alabama's playing a little bit better. I know they lost 2 or 3 to Tennessee this weekend, but are they going to be able to climb the Western Division and be top 3 or whatever in the West? Or?
I think they got a shot, but I mean it's still going to be tough. They went 8-7 the first half of the season. They got 3 of the 5 series at home coming up, but any SEC opponent you play is not easy. Let's understand that. They did finally, in that winning streak in the conference for Tennessee. They took the Friday game, and it was emotional. Alabama won it, and I know Tennessee took kind of umbrage to some of that. Even though I watched the celebration, I didn't think it was over the top. But Tennessee made a statement, and they won. They were very impressive. They won 9-2 and then 15-4. So they're the best team in the league right now. Arkansas would be second. Arkansas swept LSU at home. So those are your 2 best teams. I think everybody else, Jeff, is kind of in a wad there. But I do think Alabama's got a chance to. I think if you ask Alabama's coaching staff. If they could go 8-7 over the last 5 series and win a couple of those and end up 16-14, you'd feel really good about your team and being a number 2 seed in a regional. I don't know about hosting, but certainly Alabama's going to have some opportunities coming up, and they've got a 3-game series at home now. With Georgia, they got 4 games at home because UAB is coming to Tuscaloosa on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. Of course, I saw a conference yesterday. My alma mater has won 4 straight conference series. 2 out of 3. 2 of them on the road.
They won 2 out of 3 against Auburn earlier this year.
Yeah, Auburn, but they beat Charlotte and West Kentucky were at home, and they won. They went to UAB and won 2 out of 3. I can't remember the other one, but they won 4 straight, and they're 9-6 in the conference now. So they're kind of that top run because the Conference USA, they take the top 8 teams in the conference tournament. That's what the top 8 go to the tournament for baseball. That's how they do their tournament. But no, I just want to say, like I said, Tennessee, I'll be used to it. They've been running their mouth for the last year. And I've already got a friend of mine, Tennessee, he's already told me, he said, if they don't win it all, if they don't win the national championship this year, he said it's a disappointment to him if they don't win the whole thing, the College World Series and everything. If they don't do it, it's a disappointment to him if they don't do it. So they got a lot of pressure on them to win. Maybe he won't hang around regular season Rick so much. They can bring it back to Knoxville. Y'all hang in there, guys. See you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. All right, let's get a break in. 256-576-4977. We want to hear from you. Coming up after the break.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com. If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Hi, my name is Dan Aldridge. I'm here to let you know about the Aldridge Law Firm and the soon-to-be-announced Legal Town Center. I've been practicing law in Alabama since 1984, and I also practice in Tennessee. And I'm from North Alabama, and I'm here to represent you and take care of your legal needs. For many of us, hiring an attorney is not high on the priority list, and maybe a little scary. But it's something that we all need at some point. So by all means, do your homework. And if you need representation for car accident, wrongful death, medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, or estate planning, or any other matter, just give us a call at 256-534-3188. And you can email me at Dan, that is Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. Dan at danaldridgelaw.com. God bless America.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penney Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penney perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penney Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penney Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPenneyToyota.com. Bill Penney's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
The world champions are back, and you can only hear them right here. Braves baseball is rolling, and Atlanta's ready for a huge 2022 season.
Swung on and struck out towards deep right field, rising through the sky, back to the wall, bombs away.
Tonight, it's an NLCS rematch for the ages at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles as the Braves take on Freddie Freeman and the LA Dodgers. Braves radio goes on the air at 8:55 Eastern, 7:55 Central on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network.
Apparently there's an injury and all that mess out on 565 eastbound at Mooresville Road. There's 2 wrecks and a stall tractor trailer in there, so eastbound's a big problem. We got another wreck up near Greenbrier. It's a single vehicle spun out. It should be pretty well wrapped up. Everything else looks like it's been completed, so we're back to a clean slate there. Great summers start with overnight or day camp at Camp Chalky on Lake Guntersville. You can kayak, zip line, go on the Giant Swing or the Blob. Open house the 24th. Chalky.org or just call the Y. Captain Nick in the North Parkway Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com.
Hi, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond with you. Live from Bill Penney Toyota, sitting out here in the service department. Don't forget, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., they can service your vehicle. And then if you can't get here during the week, you can always get out here on Saturday, as they're open 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. We want to hear from you on a Monday, 256-576-4977. Not only did Alabama have their spring game on Saturday, South Carolina had theirs as well, and it gave Gamecocks a chance to see Spencer Rattler for the very first time. 8 of 10, 79 yards in their Garnet and Black game. But Spencer Rattler talking to Chris Lowe the other day from ESPN. And here's a shock here. Spencer Rattler talking about his time at Oklahoma, going into it just briefly a little bit, basically telling Chris Lowe there's another story there to be told. We'll tell it later, but could not comprehend why he was pulled basically from being the starter at Oklahoma, and kind of describing the situation within the Oklahoma program, not just his, but the whole entire thing, as toxic.
Well, I mean, I've heard that behind the scenes things were not good in that Oklahoma program, that there was a lot of discipline issues, A lot of things where they were going to keep them from winning a national championship because of some of the off-the-field conduct of players and not being held accountable. That's why it's going to be really interesting to see what the $11 million man, and that's Lincoln Riley, what he's going to do at USC because, again, Lincoln Riley is a really good offensive mind and a good football coach, and he won several Big 12 titles at OU, but he never won a playoff game.
Right.
And he never came close to winning a national championship. Let's be honest. He was never close. I mean, you might say, he had a big lead in 2017 at halftime against Georgia. Well, they choked it away. Okay? He and Baker Mayfield gagged that game away. They lost in overtime. And so that's the closest they've come. But really, when you think about how Georgia just completely outplayed them in the second half, that was a choke job of epic proportions, and they never came close to winning a playoff game after that. I mean, one of the biggest jokes that I've ever heard is is when they outscored Alabama in the second half with OU. Remember, OU was down 28-0.
Yes,
and
that
he's
was
like,
in Miami.
We outscored them in the second half. Like, Coach, you lost the game by double digits. Who cares if you outscored Alabama in the second half? That doesn't mean anything. It counted when it was 28-0 and Alabama came out and punched you in the face and you didn't respond. I mean, come on, man. That's a joke. And so, to me, I just don't think he's a national championship caliber football coach. I mean, we'll find out because certainly USC has deep pockets, man.
Right.
And they're going to give him every opportunity to win games big at USC. I want to see if he can go to the playoff, though, actually have a defense that tackles and plays physical and win games in the playoff, because that's ultimately what it's going to be judged with. Because right now the Pac-12 is not a factor, that a huge one anyway in the college football playoff. If he can get that, the first step will be winning the Pac-12 and getting them back in the playoff. But then the biggest step is going to be for Lincoln Riley to win games because they haven't done that.
All right, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can get in on the show this morning. Mississippi State was set to have their spring game this coming weekend, I believe. But because of weather, that is not going to be the case. Mississippi State has decided to not have their spring game. And instead, they will have an open scrimmage or an open practice to the public inside Davis Wade Stadium, but Mississippi State not going through their traditional spring game, and I believe Tennessee is not having a traditional spring game because of construction inside Neyland Stadium. Right. So if you're wanting every SEC team or keeping track of them all, Mississippi State will not have one, and I believe Ole Miss didn't get one either because I believe they had to go indoors or inside as well. So that is why some did not and some have not played or some will not have their spring games. All right, we are almost done with hour one of spring ball. We still have to talk about what happened yesterday with Kensley Jansen of the Atlanta Braves. I don't know if anybody saw that or not, but he goes out there to warm up. The umpire only lets him throw 3 warm-up pitches on the mound. I believe that was yesterday. And kind of an odd situation there with the Braves. I don't understand it. I haven't really looked at it too much, but
I'll have to be honest. I didn't see it. I know they lost 2-1.
Yeah, but he was allowed. He came in and was allowed just 3 warm-up pitches. The umpire went so far as to come around home plate and stand in front of home plate and shake his finger and tell him no more warm-up pitches. And Jensen was kind of caught off guard by the entire situation. And so it was an odd situation there. But the Atlanta Braves do continue to have that West Coast swing. And, again, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone will be your home for Atlanta Braves baseball on the West Coast. So make sure you head and download our app today. Search for 97.7 ESPN The Zone in your app store or marketplace so you can take us wherever you go. As we are live from this Monday here at Bill Penney Toyota, don't forget, buy 3 tires, get that 4th one for $1. Coming up at the top of the hour, Travis Reier will join us as we talk Alabama athletics going on. Got to dive in more to the spring game, talk about some baseball up on Rocky Top as the Tide do take one from the Vols. All you need is one. You string together those, you can make the conference tournament. We'll talk some softball as well. Travis Reier on the flip side when we return.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Good morning. Eastbound traffic on 565 is backed all the way back from Mooresville Road through the 565 interchange. All the ramps there pretty well stacked up. There's 2 different wrecks, one with injury, and there's a stalled tractor trailer in there causing big problems. Officers, construction workers, and first responders put their lives on the line every time they step on the roadway. Why not make it safer for them? Move over. It's the law. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Emily Owen. For this Monday, expect a partly sunny sky. High temperatures topping out in the upper 60s for the afternoon. And for your Monday night, a mostly clear sky. Low temperatures falling into the lower 40s for the overnight. Looks like rain will return back to the forecast on Thursday. I'm meteorologist Emily Owen on your home for ESPN Radio 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
Baseball, the Braves at 5-6 on the season, on the road tonight against the Dodgers. Atlanta splitting a 4-game series with the Padres last time out. They're a plus 165 moneyline underdog in Game 1. LA minus 105. The over-under set at 8. Huascar Ynoa getting the start for Atlanta. NBA playoffs tonight. The Sixers a 7.5-point favorite in Game 2 in the East first round against the Raptors. 217.5 the total. In the West, the Mavericks 5-point home underdogs against the Jazz in Game 2. The over-under 205.5. And the Warriors up 1-0 on the Nuggets, a 7-point favorite in Game 2, 224.5 the set total.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 97.7ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
Hi, welcome back. Hour 2 of Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone, live from Bill Penney Toyota, sitting out here in the service department. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're here. Monday through Friday, and then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you need to get your car serviced, 256-837-1111. That's the number to the Bill Penney Toyota Service Department. Give them a call. And then, while you're out here, you can kind of cruise over to the new showroom, take a look at all those brand new Toyotas. But don't forget to tell them that you want 4 new tires, because they're going to sell you 3 of them, and they're going to charge you $1 for that 4th one. So you buy 3, you get 1 for $1 here at Bill Penney Toyota. So now's a good time to come on out here and get that vehicle serviced. Alabama on the spring field on Saturday. We talked a little bit about A-Day. In that first hour there, they wrapped it up. The Crimson team will be eating steak. The
Crimson will be eating beans.
The Crimson eating beans. The white will be
eating that steak.
But you know what, though? If you think about it,
right.
I mean, it doesn't matter, because now any one of those guys can walk into the nutrition center and get a steak pretty much at any time that they want. So, I mean, for one meal, you're going to be eating.
It's all about bragging.
Yeah,
man.
it's all about yes. Anyway, spring games in the books. Baseball does get one from Tennessee. They stopped the long winning streak there for the conference win streak for Tennessee on Friday, and softball up to their usual ways as well.
Yep, and we're going to talk to our next guest. He joins us on a weekly basis during the college athletic season, which we like to call the fall through the majority of the spring. He does a great job. Since 2003, he's the senior analyst for BamaOnline.com. He, of course, does their daily podcast, the BOL podcast, and SEC Second Helping with our good friend Brent Beard. And of course, Talkin Tide as well with Chase Goodbread, who's back covering Alabama. Saw Chase this weekend in Tuscaloosa. He and Chase go back a long way to their college days at Alabama. But Travis Reier is going to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Travis, hope you had a great weekend and a happy Easter. Welcome back to Huntsville. You were Drew and Scott. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We are good. And I guess, again, you always have kind of 5 questions and also players that you're watching closely in A-Day. Talk about your first impressions of what you saw on Saturday.
Yeah, it was kind of a condensed version, I guess, of even an A-Day scrimmage. They tend to move pretty quickly, but with the elements in play and the weather, made sense to pretty much keep a running clock. I guess they did some 2-minute situations where the clock stopped, but for the most part, it moved quickly. And, you wanted to see offensively some of the pieces that this team is looking to plug into that passing game first and foremost, and that includes Jahmyr Gibbs. Even at the running back position, you figure he's going to be a part of that. We didn't see as much of that from him on Saturday, but we did see the game breaking speed and the ability to hit the home run like he did on the 75-yard touchdown run there in the third quarter. So that was good to see. I think some of the same questions you went into A-Day asking about this offense, you came out of A-Day still thinking those questions are very much in play as you move into the summer months and eventually into fall camp. But easy to envision Tyler Steen being helpful at one of those tackle spots, and even if that is the case, you're still going to have another tackle spot that you're looking to address. And then, wide receiver, once you get beyond Jermaine Burton, and even with Jermaine Burton in that equation, big playability, explosive playability at the wide receiver position, especially after what you got from Jamison Williams. A year ago, obviously, Alabama is very much still working the transfer portal for perhaps another one of those kind of guys at wide receiver. So we'll see how that plays out. But defensively, really, you didn't have many questions about that side of the ball, and you don't have any more certainly coming out of Saturday after what you saw from that pass rush. And, I thought the secondary played good, not just for the white team, but the Crimson team showed some promise there as well. Alabama's corners showed up, played well, benefited from that pass rush, obviously, but, really throughout the secondary, even when you include the experience they have in the sub-package roles, really promising performance from those guys, even if it was expected. And I thought the depth situation pretty much across the board was encouraging, with an emphasis maybe more on quarterback than anywhere else.
Yeah, the quarterback spot, Bryce Young, obviously, it's hard to imagine that he could get better because he won the Heisman last year, but there's always room for improvement. He looked like he is still developing and continuing to take it to the next level. and a lot of people wanted to see the backup spot. And I think both of those guys performed pretty well.
Yeah, they did. Again, I think encouraging would be the word I would use. And, to see Jalen Milroe make some throws like he did on the 52-yard touchdown pass to Christian Leary, that was reason for optimism. I think Ty Simpson, given the limited amount of time he's had in Alabama's offense, which was really limited to this spring, you saw some good things from him as well. So big picture-wise, you like what you saw from the 2 and the 3, but there's no doubt that there's still a big gap, as you would expect, between the Heisman Trophy winner and his backups. And I think all of those guys would benefit from improved protection and perhaps a little more depth in terms of the explosive playability of the receivers that they're going to be working with.
And Travis, how significant was it for a guy like Christian Leary, who we heard a little buzz about in the first 2 scrimmages, but to go out there and perform the way he did, he got my vote for MVP. Certainly Jahmyr Gibbs won it, and it was an outstanding player and made the biggest play, 75-yard touchdown run. But Leary had the 52-yard explosive play, and which was, I think, significant, and it had over 100 yards receiving, consistently made plays, because that's a crowded wide receiver room. They have to hash it out, and Ja'Cory Brooks will be back. He'll be a big factor. And then, as you said, the Tyler Harrell situation, he was on campus this weekend. They'd like to add a big-time speed guy. So what are your thoughts on Leary and really the wide receiver room as a whole? I thought Leary and Tyu Jones-Bell both kind of took advantage of opportunities.
Yeah, they did, and we've heard a lot about Aaron Anderson coming in as an early enrollee. And when you think about Anderson and Earl and Leary gets a little bit forgotten because they're similar in terms of skill set, where you sort of project them making an impact, more so in the slot, inside more so than outside. But what you liked about Leary was the touchdown catch came against Malachi Moore. So this wasn't a walk-on or kind of a 3 that he was working against. He was working against an SEC, high SEC caliber slot corner. So that was good to see. And they have dynamic guys. I think it's more so right now limited to, again, those 3, 5'9", 5'10"-ish type inside receivers. So it makes sense that, they still think on the outside they might need to go out and get another guy for one of those spots. But it'll be interesting to see what Ja'Cory Brooks can bring to that mix once he's healthy. He's obviously a receiver with size and good enough speed in the vertical game. But still some work to do in terms of piecing all that together. Tight end as an extension of that, Drew. Cameron Latou, you would think, could give them some more as a receiver this year. But, Robbie Oates, I'm not saying he's going to be Brock Bowers or anything, but I do think he can keep defenses honest, because you're going to look at this guy and think he's in there to thump in the run game. But pretty good athlete for a guy that, again, he's not going to bring to mind Jaleel Billingsley, but I think he will be dependable, and I think he will develop into a guy that can do some pretty good things with the ball in his hand.
How talented will Jahmyr Gibbs be in this offense?
Yeah, I think that, again, we didn't see as much of it on Saturday, but a stat line like he had, 9 carries for 100 yards, with 75 of those obviously coming on 1 carry. I think he's capable of that in the fall. You think that, well, that's the spring scrimmage and guys do that type of stuff, but that's sort of his game. You might bottle him up a couple, 3 times, but that 4th or 5th carry has the potential to go for 75, 80 yards. So you love that, and then you also like the potential that he's going to bring to the kickoff return game, as we saw him do that at Georgia Tech and saw a little bit of it when they worked the kickoffs on Saturday. So a lot of positives, and one of those guys that even though he doesn't play wide receiver, when you look at his efficiency in terms of yards per touch, explosive plays is an area where he's definitely going to help.
And Travis, we think even if Alabama adds Tyler Harrell due to the Jai Hall situation and moving on, that they might have another roster spot. in your mind, did J.C. Latham do enough to gain the confidence of the coaching staff to be the right tackle, or could we see Alabama potentially try to add another offensive line piece in your mind?
Yeah, he kind of came out of Saturday thinking, well, is Tyler Steen enough out of the portal? But, I don't want to go too hard on these guys because, it wasn't pretty much set up to, as we heard from Nick Saban post-scrimmage, to give them some assistance. And, we are talking about in Braswell, Anderson, and Turner as good a trio as the best trio that Alabama's offensive linemen are going to see all season, regardless of who they end up playing, scheduled or otherwise. So the other side of that is you think, well, they had to improve after going against those guys for 15 practices. And I do believe that'll be the case. As for Latham, I think it's still a little bit up in the air whether or not he's best at guard or at tackle. But, right now, my guess would be that he's probably their best option as the second tackle, even if Tyler Steen's in there. And, I thought there was some good stuff. The touchdown run by Gibbs, Latham, and, I think it was Damian George on that right side did a nice job against Jamil Burrows and helping to open that hole. Seth McLaughlin on DJ Dale on that particular play. So, there were some positives, but no, in terms of being a finished product, they still have some things to figure out there at tackle.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the one thing with spring football is that, you experiment a little bit, you try different things, but you do get a good sense of what needs to be worked on going into the fall. Alabama does have a few checks that they need to work on. But Travis, if you're an Alabama fan, you did leave Saturday. You have to be feeling good about the check marks that need to be checked off because they're not real major issues, but they're things that can be adjusted.
Yeah, they can. And, we talk about the offensive line, and you understand Emil Ekiyor's not in there at right guard. So you gave up some pressures on the inside. Jamil Burrows did some good things in there. But you're also without Darian Dalcourt and, a guy that certainly can compete at the center position with McLaughlin, and then Emil Ekiyor, who projects as a third-year starter at right guard. So, there's some things that are going to improve between now and even fall camp. But during the course of fall camp, I think it's going to be consistent with what we've seen in previous years, where the quest to find that best five and to get on the field together might take a scrimmage or two, and as you get ready for the lead up. And that's where maybe opening with a Utah State this year is beneficial, because even in your opener, you still might be able to tweak and work with some things before you head to Austin in week 2.
And then, Travis, as we wrap up the A-Day discussion before we hit a little baseball and softball, I thought that, and I think you referenced it earlier, that defensively they were impressive on all three levels. I thought Jalen Moody looked very comfortable with the ones. You talked about the secondary kind of settling in, and then the kicking game. I thought Burnip had been really good the week before and solid. Others were not as impressed, but he's not J.K. Scott. But I thought he was really good again Saturday, had a good spring, and then, of course, we see place kicking very strong.
Yeah, they were absolutely perfect in terms of field goal kicking with Jack Martin and Will Reichert, and I think 4 of the 6 field goals were 40 or more. So it wasn't like it was chip shot city throughout the scrimmage. And, yeah, they've got a lot of options in terms of the return game, as we saw even with some of the guys they mixed in on punt returns Saturday, when you've got a JoJo Earl and you've got a Jermaine Burton, you got a Kool-Aid McKinstry, a lot of different guys. You can get into that mix, and as I mentioned with Gibbs on kickoffs. And so, with what they have accumulated too at some of the primary streams for coverage and return units, when you talk about linebacker, safety, even running back depth, coverage and return units should be very good. And, yeah, defensively, I thought, again, it was about what you should have expected from that group. And the competition at corner is really intriguing, because I think right now, they feel really good about 3 or 4 of those guys, maybe even 5. So, I know that it's considered a potential weakness for them. But I think once they get that sorted out, and even going into the season a little bit, that's going to be an area where they're really good.
Well, Travis, obviously good. Can describe Alabama's performance Friday against Tennessee on the baseball diamond. They stopped Tennessee's long win streak in the conference. Tennessee goes on to take 2 out of 3, but Alabama does get 1 in Knoxville.
They do, and it was a big one just to get 1 up there, and give Tennessee credit. The Vols responded on Saturday and Sunday the way you would expect the number 1 team in the country playing at home. But some positives to come out of the series for Alabama. Obviously pitching wise, and some of those things in games 2 and 3, Tennessee was just too good. I mean, you look at the Sunday game, Tennessee hit 4 home runs yesterday and struck out just 4 times. In today's game, that's a really good ratio because, we see so many more strikeouts in baseball today, really at just about every level. But the Vols are complete offensively. There's no doubt about that. But the Friday night performance for Alabama was really good. And, the Stars kind of played the way the Stars needed to. Middle of the lineup yesterday really kind of struggled. Got a couple home runs out of that stretch, but you also had, I think, 8 strikeouts from your 2 through 4 yesterday. So, but Tennessee again just sort of flexed its muscle in those final 2 games to take the series.
Yeah, they did. And then softball wise, Alabama gets a sweep. An epic comeback in Game 2, down 6-1 to win 7-6. Won the first 2 games in walk-off fashion. Then we saw Montana Fouts lock back in. She throws a shutout, and they were without Lexi Kilfoyle this weekend. So Alabama finding a way. I thought Alex Salter out of the bullpen as well was big.
Yeah, she stepped up in Game 2 and kind of held that thing together just enough until the offense could get it done. And boy, Megan Bloodworth with a really clutch weekend for the freshmen. And that's kind of what you anticipated coming off the Monday loss to Florida, was that they would, turn around and, put together some more series wins. They did get the series win at Florida. So a big one to get a sweep against an improving Mississippi State program. And we talked about it last week. You look at these final 3 series of the SEC season for Alabama, beginning with Mississippi State and Texas A&M and Missouri coming up next. You're talking about, in A&M and Missouri, a couple of teams, I think, in the bottom third of the league. So an opportunity to still make up, create some ground on the competition. Obviously, Arkansas, a game up in the loss column right now, but big series for the Razorbacks because they go to Gainesville this weekend. And, Alabama got a little bit of help from Kentucky, I think, in Fayetteville over the weekend, so they could stand to use a little bit more of that, take care of their own business in these last couple of series, and, have a chance at the regular season title.
Yeah, and that is some good news there for Alabama. But now you look at it, Travis, and for baseball, man, if they just can keep getting, as you keep telling us every week, if they can just keep getting 1, they can't drop, though, any more of those midweek ones.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier. You get Georgia and Tuscaloosa this weekend, and, that's a really good team that, is looking to rebound a little bit after the home series against Texas A&M at Foley Field over the weekend. So, no, you think about magic numbers just to get to Hoover in this league. We talked about it before, 13, 14 wins, something in that neighborhood. And you got programs like Mississippi State and Ole Miss going into this past weekend thinking, man, are we going to make it to Hoover? And that just tells you about the league right there, the competition for those 12 spots. So still in good shape, Alabama is, but you start thinking about, okay, where does the break come in the league? And it just really doesn't. So you got to take care of business at home. You got to win home series, and so it'll be interesting to see if Alabama can do that coming up.
No doubt. It's going to be a very interesting one as well, both for the softball trying to win a regular season championship, as you said, Travis, and then baseball trying to get to Hoover, get a better seed this time, and perhaps use that as a springboard to being a 2 seed in a regional. I don't want to say host yet. That's a long one. That's a huge step, but certainly Alabama was one of the last 4 teams in last year.
Oh yeah, just to be in the conversation in terms of potential host, would show more improvement, another step for the program under Brad Bohannon. But man, again, you just can't even afford to look past a weekend because things can change quickly. I mean, just Alabama's a prime example of that. 3 weeks ago, we were talking about this team as would it potentially even make it to Hoover, and whereas right now you feel comfortable in thinking that'll be the case, and even considering some scenarios where it could even host. And there's just so much you still have to navigate in the next month to even try to consider some of that.
Absolutely. Well, Travis, great stuff. We always appreciate your time talking Alabama athletics with us here on 97.7 The Zone and Talkin Ball. Let everybody know how to connect with you.
Just go to BamaOnline.com or Alabama.247sports.com. Either way will get you to us.
Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Let's get a break in here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. When we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. John Frary going to chime in with us when we come back. Live.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penney Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penney perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penney Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penney Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPenneyToyota.com. Bill Penney's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Are you in the market for a recreational vehicle? Do you want to get out and see more of this beautiful country? Well, imagine hearing the laughter of your little ones enjoying gooey s'mores by a cozy campfire and making lasting memories with your friends and family from the comfort of a new camper. We can make your dreams come true at Hall's RV. With over 15 years in the camping business, we know how to get our customers into the perfect camper. We have several models and floor plans here for you to choose from, both new and used. We're family owned and operated with fantastic deals and great service. Everyone wants to work with people they can trust, so come on down to Hall's RV and get the deal of a lifetime. We'll treat you right and get you on the road in the camper of your dreams. Visit us on Highway 431 in Albertville. Hall's RVs, where we sell fun. Or see us on the web at www.hallsrvsales.com.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com.
Hi, this is Wes Neighbors. I'm here with Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Sam, tell the folks about Fleming Roofing and Restoration.
Hey, Wes. Our company, Fleming Roofing and Restoration, specializes in commercial and residential roofing and repairs. I'm a 5th-generation Huntsvillian, and our family's been doing construction business in Huntsville area since 1965.
Sam, what kind of roofs does Fleming Roofing and Restoration do?
Our guys are skilled enough. We can come out and address any kind of leaks or issues you might have on your commercial, on your metal roofing, on your shingles. We can do anything, and we can offer you a solution to repair it, or we can replace it.
Well, you guys also do insurance restoration.
Our staff has 10-plus years of experience as insurance adjusters, and we really do know the inside and out of the claims process at Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Check out Fleming Roofing and Restoration online at FlemingHSV.com, or you can call or text them at 256-651-9440. Hey, Wes, we show up.
Spring has sprung with a hint of summer right around the corner. And with all the travel restrictions easing up, now is the time to consider the Lodge at Guntersville State Park for a quick, relaxing getaway. At the Lodge at Guntersville State Park, all the rooms are routinely disinfected and cleaned to the highest standard. And views across Guntersville Lake are as gorgeous as ever. It's been too long, all cooped up at home. Make plans now to spend a weekend at the Lodge or cabins or campgrounds of Guntersville State Park today. Visit alapark.com for more information.
The wreck on 565 eastbound at mile marker 1, that's Mooresville Road, has been causing some major problems. Still got a big slowdown there. It's backed all the way up through the 565, I-65 interchange. Just got a wreck on the Parkway. It looks like it's going to be Access Road northbound right around Governors. They are reporting injury there. The 38th Annual Bloomin' Festival Art and Craft Fair is coming up this weekend in Coleman, the 23rd and 24th. Over 160 artists and craftsmen, great food, music, and more. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Want to save some money?
I can take money and I can make it into more money.
Just check out our zone deals online at 977ESPN.com. We are 977 ESPN The Zone.
This is Chuck Oliver. Listen to me coming up at noon today. Now, back to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Indeed, welcome back. Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Scott Tyson, Drew DeArmond, 9 a.m. is when we're done. We're live from Bill Penney Toyota this morning on a Monday morning, jump-starting the week. And speaking of jump-starting, the Florida Gators didn't know that they had a spring game last year. It was just indoors. Nobody got to see it.
Well, actually, it wasn't. They haven't had one. Well, they sort of had one. Everything was closed.
It was closed because Dan Mullen wanted it that way. The fans have not been inside Ben Hill Griffin to watch a spring game
the
in quite
year
some
before
time.
It was canceled.
Yeah. So they finally got to go through one and watch it and get some sense of spring football. Yeah, I'm sure they're happy about that.
Yeah, and they did it in a little bit different way this year. Billy Napier and those guys, they did it last Thursday, and they had from what they were announced, I think 47,000. So they had a really good crowd. So that was good for Billy Napier's first year. He's got a lot of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, and we were going to talk about it with our next guest. And of course, he does a great job. Has his daily show from 5 to 7 Eastern time, 4 to 6 our time, every Monday on 1021news.com. But he works for 102.1 FM, 1240 WFOY in St. Augustine. Look forward to being a part of that show tonight, actually, to wrap up a day for the listeners down there in Florida. But John Frary is now joining us to talk Gator spring game and a little bit of Jags because the NFL draft will be here before we know it. But John, welcome back. How are you? Hope you had a happy Easter, sir.
I hope you guys had a happy Easter, too. Great to be on. Good morning, Drew and Scott. And, yeah, it was exciting to have a spring game. You mentioned, Drew, it's been 3 years since Florida fans have been able to watch one of these. And I think that's why, even though it was Thursday night, they had a nice crowd. You mentioned they estimated over 45,000. I think that might have been a little generous. But let me say this, for a Thursday night, a weeknight, and an upcoming holiday weekend, I thought it was a great crowd overall. And Billy Napier had a lot of recruits in attendance as well, which I think is another reason they wanted to do it on Thursday, because they got the jump on a lot of other games over the weekend, like the A-Day game you mentioned, Drew, which we're looking forward to having you on tonight to get a report on that. But overall, I think Florida's got to be happy with what happened Thursday night. Anthony Richardson, first and foremost, looked very good. Now, granted, it's a spring game, guys, and, you don't have blitzes, you don't have special packages on the defense in those games, but I thought he looked polished. He looked efficient. He made some good decisions on Thursday night, and I think overall Billy Napier came away pretty pleased with the way number 15, Anthony Richardson, looked. Now, the other thing that was glaring, though, was that the other quarterbacks did not look very good at all. So going into the fall, if Richardson were to get hurt or if something were to happen, I think there's some concern there, especially with Jack Miller, who there was a lot of intrigue about him as well. The transfer from Ohio State, kind of spotty on Thursday night. He had some good decisions, but then he threw in the triple coverage for an interception that you just cannot do. And so looking at the other quarterbacks who did not get a lot of time, Del Rio Wilson and Kitna, which kind of surprised me, to be quite honest. I thought we might see more of them Thursday, too. You come away, I think, confident in Anthony Richardson, but you come away thinking he better stay healthy and you better not have to depend on one of the other guys. And I say that with 138 days between now and September 3rd, guys. So there's a lot of time for the other guys to improve in the fall camp, starting in the summer, heading into September. But Anthony Richardson, head and shoulders, there's no quarterback controversy in Gainesville. He is going to be the starter this fall, no question.
How do you think Billy Napier will use him in the fall? Is it going to be with his legs more, or is it going to be with his arm?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think what I came away more impressed with, I knew about his legs. I think we all did, guys, from the limited time we got to see him last year. He's explosive with his legs and very athletic. He's got some unique talent, this young man. But I was more interested in looking at how he threw the football on Thursday night and the decisions and the accuracy, because that's the questions I have in my mind, guys, with Anthony Richardson. I know he's going to make plays out in the open field. There's no question about that. But he looked a lot better to me than I saw last fall as far as just making decisions and reads and getting the ball out on time, and that's what I was impressed with the most on Thursday night. And so I look for him to be more of a passer this year, to be quite honest, than a runner. I think they're going to use him in the running game. Obviously, you have to, but I think they're going to make defenses commit to that, and that's when I think Anthony Richardson can go over the top and find some guys out in the open field in the passing game. So I think they're going to want to use him more in the passing game than as a runner. And one of the reasons why I get back to what I led with is that I think you want to limit how much you expose him, because, again, if he were to get injured or have to go out, I don't know where the confidence level is behind him. So I think you're going to see a lot more out of him in the passing game this fall than we saw last year.
Well, and John, as far as the guys around him, offensively, the skilled guys, where's the running game as far as the running back room going into the fall? And then wide receiver wise, I know they got Xavier Henderson back. I know they're confident in him, but where does the receiver core kind of stand as well?
Well, I'll start with the running back group. Montrell Johnson jumped off the charts on Thursday night to me, Drew, the transfer from Louisiana. As soon as I saw that, I thought, there's a reason Billy Napier wanted him to come over and join him here in Gainesville. I was expecting that to look closer, the running back group, than it did Thursday. And, again, it's a spring game. But Montrell Johnson was head and shoulders above the rest from what I saw Thursday night. Daquan Bowman had some nice runs, but he also had some ball security issues. He fumbled on the opening kickoff. He had a fumble later on in the game as a running back. Lorenzo Lingard looked good at times. Naquan Wright has been coming back from an injury. He's going to be a big part of the running back group in the fall, but he wasn't on Thursday night. I have some concerns in the receiving core, though. I think that's an area where, unlike prior years, there are no playmakers in that group. In my opinion, Justin Shorter, nice route runner, but he's really just a guy. Xavier Henderson's the guy you're hoping is going to come on and take over that number one role. But again, unlike past years with Dan Mullen, where you saw some playmakers in that group, I think that's a concern. And Coach Napier mentioned in the postgame that they're going to be going out in the transfer portal to try to find a couple of more guys to add to that group. Now, they've got some young guys, Marcus Burke and Pouncey, who transferred over from Texas, that they're counting on to help in that group this year. But I think that's going to be an area of concern going into the fall, guys, because they just don't have as many playmakers as you're used to with Florida in the years past in the receiving game.
Yeah, no question. And then the offensive line was always a question under Dan Mullen. It always seemed like they were struggling in recruiting there. Now, I know Billy Napier brought a big piece with him that's going to start along that offensive line from the University of Louisiana, but are they confident in the O-line heading into the fall, or is that another area they may have to address?
The first team, they are very confident. The second and third team guys, they are not. And during the spring, Billy Napier expressed that the first team has looked awfully good. They brought over Osiris Torrance from Louisiana. Ethan White returns, Richard Garage, some of the guys from a year ago. So first team-wise, I think they look good, guys, and they've been able to establish the running game during the spring. Billy Napier was very complimentary about that. But his concern is the depth again. The second and third team guys that if you suffer some injuries, if you have some attrition, how far is the drop-off? And I think that's the concern, and that's where I think it's going to take a couple of years of recruiting. And I know fans hate the word patient, and I do too, by the way. The older I get, you want it now. But I think they're going to have to be patient as far as building up the numbers. I think the first team will be fine, but I think if there's some injuries, there'll be some question marks, and I think some struggles with that group.
So as good as Anthony Richardson can be, it's going to be dependent on that offensive line.
I think it's going to be dependent on the offensive line. I think it's going to be dependent on getting lucky as far as injuries, and I think it's going to be dependent on another group I haven't brought up, and that's the tight ends. There was a young man that stood out on Thursday night that they had to move over from defense. Dante Saunders had a big night. They've been pretty impressed with him in the tight end area. And they had to use him because they've had some attrition there as well with a couple of guys that were not available. But I think it's going to really depend more so on AR-15, Anthony Richardson, than anything else, guys. If he is as special as a lot of folks think he can be, and if he can stay healthy, I think this team realistically could get to 8-4, 9-3. If he's not as good as we think, then I think there could be more of a struggle, offensive line aside, because, again, there's just not, in my opinion, enough playmakers at this point and enough depth on the offensive line and also the defensive line, which I haven't mentioned yet. But I think there's some concern there as well because Gervin Dexter is going to have a big year for them. Desmond Watson's a young man that's going to have to step up. But, again, the numbers are just not there yet, I think, for this team to seriously be a contender in the SEC. So Anthony Richardson's going to have to step up, stay healthy, and have a good year for this team to, I think, get to the 8-9 win mark that they can if he's as good as we think he is.
Well, John, we're with John Frary. John Frary with us from WFOY in St. Augustine. Where are the Gators defensively? Because the last couple of years under Todd Grantham, who's now ironically an analyst at the University of Alabama, were not good. There was a lot of consternation from Gator Nation, John. But where does the defense stand right now going into Napier's first season in the fall?
I think there's a lot of question marks, Drew. I think first and foremost, how much of a pass rush are they going to be able to get in the fall? I mentioned a couple of the guys a minute ago, Dexter and Desmond Watson, and I think the secondary is another area of concern. They've got a young man in Jason Marshall, who I think is going to be pretty good. They've brought over Kimber from Georgia. Jadon Hill's part of that group, but I just think there's not a lot of numbers, and I think that's the concern. Now, one guy that I know Billy Napier is very happy, and Gator Nation as well, to bring back is Ventrell Miller at linebacker, who did not get to play a lot last year because of injuries. He didn't play hardly at all. And so they're really counting on him to be a contributor. DeJuan Black is another guy that was had to go the JUCO route, has come back and has had a pretty good spring. I think there's a lot of optimism just because you mentioned the name that Gator Nation kind of grimaces, Todd Grantham, who I know is over in Alabama as an analyst right now. I think the fact that Coach Grantham is gone has spurred a lot of optimism just from that. I think he got a lot of blame that probably he didn't deserve. There was some he deserved, but not all of it. But I think there's a lot of question marks for this defense going into the 2022 campaign. Again, if the frontline guys can stay healthy and they can get some pass pressure, I think they'll be okay. But if they suffer some injuries, just like that offensive line, I think there's going to be some issues for this team this upcoming season.
John, you kind of alluded to it on the offensive side that they're probably going to have to be active in the transfer portal. How much room does Billy Napier have to add guys in the transfer portal this spring?
Well, he indicated on Thursday night, Scott, he's got plenty of room, and he'll also make some room if he need be, meaning there'll be some tough conversations with some guys if he has to do that. And so I think they're going to, if they can find some, especially at wide receiver, some playmakers, some guys with some speed, they're going to have the room to bring in the players they need. I look for 5 to 6 guys, to be honest with you, to be brought in here between now and September, the beginning of the regular season minimum. I think because, again, not only offensively, but I think if they can find a couple of guys that can add depth on the defensive line, as I touched on, or anywhere where they need some help, I think they're going to find a way to make that room and bring them in.
And then, John, I was going to ask you about the NFL draft coming up. The Jags are first on the clock. The last time we talked with you, we were talking about maybe Evan Neal being the first pick. There's a lot of buzz about him going D-line or maybe Aiden Hutchinson with the first pick in the draft. What seems to be the temperature over there in Jacksonville about where this organization might go with the first overall selection?
It's very interesting, Drew, because unlike a normal year in the draft, you normally have a consensus when you have the number one pick.
Right.
Where you're going. With Jacksonville, there's not one guy that's really head and shoulders above the rest, depending on who you talk to. Aiden Hutchinson seems to be the name that's mentioned more than others, the defensive end from Michigan. You mentioned Evan Neal. Personally, I would like to see the Jags go that direction. I think he's more of a sure thing than any of these other guys they're talking about picking number one overall. I know Kayvon Thibodeau's been thrown into the mix. The offensive tackle from NC State has been mentioned. And even Trayvon Walker has shot up the charts.
Georgia, yeah.
Defensive tackle from Georgia. But I don't think it's going to be him, but there's been chatter about that. I think it's down to 2 guys. I think it's either Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan or it's Evan Neal from your neck of the woods out of Alabama. And I would love to see Neal come in because I think he's a guy that could be a starter for the next decade. I know the conventional wisdom has been Jacksonville put a franchise tender on Cam Robinson, and he just signed that at left tackle last week. Having said that, I think you could bring Neal in, play him at right tackle this year, or even guard for the first year because there's no guarantee Cam Robinson's going to be here long term. And even if he were, I think you could have bookend tackles for the biggest investment on this team, which is Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would go. But I think it's down to 2. It's either Aiden Hutchinson or Evan Neal. I would be surprised, guys, if it was anybody else come April 28th when they make the pick.
Well, we've heard Doug Peterson's in favor of Evan Neal, so we'll see if he wins out over ownership or where ownership's leaning, John. That's going to be interesting.
It will indeed, and I hope he does, Drew, to be quite honest, because we've seen a lot of offensive linemen come and go here in Jacksonville. And, again, when you've got a quarterback that's your biggest investment, I think first and foremost you've got to protect Trevor to give him the best chance to succeed. So I just think going with Evan Neal would be the best choice, and that is Doug Peterson's MO from his Philadelphia days with the Eagles. So I agree that I think he's leaning toward Evan Neal, but there's some discussion with Trent Baalke, the general manager, and inside the building whether it will be Aiden Hutchinson or Evan Neal at this point.
Well, great stuff, John. We appreciate it. Look forward to being on with you later this evening, but let everybody know how to follow you and all your great work.
Thanks, Drew. You can follow me on Twitter at JF_sports_now. And as you touched on tonight, from 5 to 7 Eastern, 4 to 6 your guys' time, Sports Now, and it's on 102.1 and 1240 WFOY in St. Augustine. And Drew, look forward to talking with you tonight because the SEC Network apparently doesn't like to show these spring games live, which is driving me crazy. I don't know why. They didn't show the Florida one live, and the A game was like Dan Mullen's spring games or practices. It was FDI over here. We couldn't get anything. So looking forward to getting that report tonight, my friend. And as always, thanks for having me on, guys. Always an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Let's get that final break in when we come back here. Tomorrow's headlines today here on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
They're showing the problems on the eastbound side of 565 at Mooresville Road as being clear, but looking at traffic there, it's still majorly backed up through the Greenbrier area. Begins to smooth out once you get up to about County Line. And we got a new wreck on the Parkway. This one's right around the Med Mall on the northbound side. It is reported as an injury type. From routine care to heart failure, Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist on Bob Wallace Avenue have the expertise to care for all matters of the heart. Captain Nick in the North Parkway, Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, Managing Partner at University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. Stop into the University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including the all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in a Kia. Go Mustangs!
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
The internet is everything. Actually, everything. And with WOW Internet, everything is good. Good streaming, good shopping, good gaming. And with an extra reliable connection, it's all good all the time. Get super fast gig speed internet from WOW for only $49.99 a month. Plus get $300 on us when you sign up at wowway.com. Wow, that's good internet. Wow. Limited to new customers with autopay and paperless billing. Subject to change. Terms apply.
The PGA Tour's Korn Ferry Tour is coming to the Rocket City. Join us at the Ledges for the Huntsville Championship, April 29th through May 2nd. Experience the beauty and drama of the course firsthand. Witness golf's rising stars chase their PGA Tour dreams. Cheer on the future of golf up close and personal. Tickets are on sale now at HuntsvilleChampionship.com.
This is Wes Neighbors with Phillip with Eagle Insulation, and we have an announcement to make.
Yes, Wes, we are now Eagle Masonry and Insulation. We're still a place to call for your installation needs, but now we offer masonry services.
What kind of masonry projects can you handle?
Wes, no job is too big, no job is too small. We can do renovations, new construction, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, brick landscape borders.
Well, when you came out to my house, you did both the insulation and masonry at the same time. You guys did rock for me, you did brick for me, and you insulated my house. That's usually done at the same time that you're building a house.
Absolutely. It really capitalizes on 2 services you need at the same time.
and you can get one company to handle both of those.
Philip with Eagle Insulation will come out, do your installation. He'll do your masonry. They do a great job. They guarantee your work. Check out more online at insulatawetheagle.com and schedule your free examination today. 256-755-1556.
Thanks, Wes.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This segment of Talkin Ball is brought to you by University Kia, the #1 volume Kia dealer in the state of Alabama. Located online at universitykia.com. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Time does keep on slipping into the future, and in the future, one Grissom Tiger is going to be wearing orange. Well, he's going from orange to green.
He is. Ephraim Butta Johnson makes his decision on Easter Sunday, goes public with it. We knew that UAB was in heavy pursuit of him. Philip Pearson and Andy Kennedy both making appearances both at the Huntsville City Classic and at Grissom High School down the stretch. I know he went on some visits, including to St. Bonaventure, who had a good team this year, went to the NIT, had a 20-win season. But Andy Kennedy's squad getting to the NCAA tournament, winning the Conference USA tournament to get in over Middle Tennessee, and had a great run in that tournament, a great regular season, a great year at UAB in his second season. And Ephraim Butta Johnson going to join Tony there, the Mae Jemison alum, with the UAB Blazers, Scott.
And another college basketball news. This one here, I don't know if it's actually. I mean, it's surprising, but it's not surprising. Imani Bates, who is probably was one of the top recruits in the country.
Yeah.
A lot of people figured one and done going to the NBA, still may end up there, but put his name in the transfer portal the other day over the weekend out of Memphis.
Yeah, there's been he and Landers Nolly and others have left that Memphis program since the end of the regular season. Of course, Penny's team really had a great second half of the season after just a horrendous start.
Yeah.
Really, the Alabama win was kind of a jumping off point for them, and they ended up getting into the NCAA tournament, winning a game in round one before, I believe, falling to Kansas in round two. And so, but again, I with Imani Bates, I think he made a mistake of reclassifying, because he was a guy that was probably the #1 player in the 2023 class. He would have been a freshman this fall. He decided to move his timeline up, and I think he struggled, physically with that, and maybe even mentally. Playing against guys that are older than him, and he struggled some. He was a good player at Memphis, but he wasn't what you'd call a guy that stood out that was going to be a top 5 lottery pick.
Like the expectations around him were.
And really, they'd been that way early in his high school career. And then he left his high school. His father created a prep school for him to star on. He had been committed to Michigan State, then he reopened his recruitment. He ended up at Memphis, and it did not go well. So to me, I think he needs to go back to college, find a better situation for him, and get stronger, get his confidence back. And I think he has the talent. I think he could easily shoot back up the draft boards next year. But I think really what Imani Bates needs to do is get into a solid program with a great coach. I still think he should have gone to Michigan State. I think Tom Izzo can get the most out of him.
Right.
I think maybe his father and his inner circle made some bad decisions there, in my opinion. But again, it'll be interesting to see where Imani Bates ultimately lands.
The other big headline is the USFL did kick off over the weekend, and the ratings not too bad
Pretty
on
good.
Saturday. If you looked at the ratings or if you paid attention to them, if you added it up, they were on NBC and Fox. It's 2.95 million. That is the viewers per million. That's not including the streaming services that went on as well. Other news and notes, if you wanted to compare it, in its time slot, the NBA Countdown got 2.06 million. NCIS in Los Angeles, the NCIS Los Angeles show got 2.04 million. The Nuggets Warriors got 3.77 million, and 48 Hours got 2.32 million. So it drew very well, did the USFL. That was for the General Stallions game. So
and we'll see. The Alliance got off to a strong start too. I'm wanting to see if they can continue it. I have doubts about its viability going forward.
We'll talk more about that as this season goes along. All right, that's going to do it. We're live from Bill Penney Toyota on this Monday. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Talking Ball back on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.